Hey there, welcome back to Manitic Stringworks. So today on the workbench we have this. This is a black 12-string acoustic guitar, as you can see. It is a Takamine not quite 100% sure how to say it. I've heard it said many different ways, but here you are. This is a lot of guitar. It's pretty heavy too. So this is a G series. It's on the label. And this guitar has an EQ here, tuner, and a gain volume control there. So we've got everything you need. And of course, here's where you plug it in. And this finish, look at that. You can see it's on the wall, reflected in there. Pretty cool. Holy mackerel. Alright, well, the owner's dropped it off here because he wants a string change. And that's about it. Maybe I'll check the neck relief, but otherwise the owner's happy with the way it plays. Alright, well, let's get started. Wow, check out that reflection. Pretty cool. Okay, so I don't see too many 12 strings in the shop, to be honest. I think this is maybe the third or fourth one I've had to string up in 3 years, 2-3 years. I get one a year, two a year. And, you know, I'm not 100% sure why. They're not as popular as they used to be. They sound cool, but I think the problem is you have so many pedals and plugins and emulators that will make this doubling sound without having a 12-string acoustic, you know, which, to be fair, is a bit of a pain in the butt to keep in tune. You seem to be always fiddling with that. And a lot of people are intimidated by them. So I think they've, you know, pretty much fallen out of favor a lot these days. They are a folk instrument in a lot of ways. And maybe that scene, you know, that crowd is still into them. I've owned it, 3 or 4 in my lifetime. So anyways, we're going to put some new strings. I'm going to check the neck relief. The owner's dropped off these 10 to 47 light gauge, which is great. It's exactly what's on there now. It's perfect. So let's check the neck relief. Okay, so I'm going to adjust the neck relief, I believe, but just to show you, so using my string action gauges, which you can purchase at maniticstringworks.com. So a set of string action gauges, pickup height gauge, and a stand if you like. So 6/64 would be, you know, very good. And I put it under there, under the fret, on top of the fret, under the string, and it's bouncing around. So I'm going to say we're probably at around 7/64. So that's a little high. I'd like to see, you know, between 5, you know, 6 and 5. So 6 on the bass, 5 on the treble would be sort of ideal. But I think if we adjust the neck relief a little bit, so I think this is a 4mm now. Here's a 4mm wrench. You know, I made this one, and this is probably about you know, I don't know, 2.5 inches long, but that's not going to reach in here. I can't even get there. So unless you have a wrench that's longer like this one, so this wrench is, yeah, we're just over 4 inches long. So you need something pretty long. Now, this guitar might have come with one originally. I didn't find one in the case, so not sure. Okay, yeah, it's catching there, so that's good. So, but I need some room to get at it, so let's see, maybe I can get under here. I want to do this, I want to try this before taking the strings off to see if it actually does anything. Alright, this is going to take a little bit of fiddling around, I think. Okay, well, gonna have to fiddle around with this a little more. See if I can get at it. Okay, so after a few minutes here fiddling, I think I've got it in there, and it's very loose, like almost no tension at all. I'm gonna tighten that a little bit. Let's see if I can. I turned it a touch. If I can get it again. Nope. Wow. This is needle in a haystack territory. Oh, there we go. Okay. There we go. I'm gonna leave it in there. And let's put the capo on. I want to see, 10 thousandths would be nice. I'm just going to push down the regular string. Not quite touching it. So let's see if I can get a little more out of it here. Okay, turned. I'll have to reposition. I want to pop a string. Oh, there we go. Starting to touch it. Right around 10. So this is really fun to try and find. It's like a needle in a haystack, right? There's like a void right beside it. It's really strange. Okay, well. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna give it another, not even an eighth of a turn. And let's give it a try. I can just hear it touching. So that's pretty good. We're gonna leave it like that for the moment, let it sit. And we can check again with the string gauge. So is 6/64 gonna, well, it's definitely lower. Yeah, it's just barely touching. So that's lowered. So I think what I'm gonna do is when I take the strings off, these middle strings, then I'll be able to play with the truss rod a little more. I'll tighten it up a little bit. Again, these black guitars, fingerprints. So again, I don't want to cause any buzzing or anything, but yeah, okay. Well, you might ask yourself, how do you restring a 12-string guitar? There's a few ways, I guess. I mean, I normally will do it where I'm not, I don't have to adjust anything. The fingerboard's in good shape, it's clean. I'm going to do 2 strings at a time. Some people will do all of the, I'll call them the regular strings, and then they'll come back and do the octave strings. Doesn't really matter. I'm not a huge fan of taking all the strings off, unless you really have to clean everything, recrown, do that kind of thing. Just there's a lot of tension on here, and the setup's pretty good, and I think adjusting the neck relief is going to help with the action a little bit. So, alright, well, let's start removing some strings. Now you can see this guitar has a split saddle. So there's 2 pieces. So the first and second strings, or the 1, 2, 3, 4 string, go over this piece, and then you have the rest of the strings going over this longer piece. So that's interesting, but something else to remember on these is when you're restringing, you should be checking to see, okay, where does the regular string go? Well, if on this guitar they go right at the front, all of them. Now the first and second strings are exactly the same string, but the rest of them are octave strings. But you can see, right, so just take note of that the regular strings, they'll call them, go at the front, and the octave strings will go at the back on this guitar. Okay, well, there's a lot of strings on these guitars, obviously. So having a string winder, either a manual one or some sort of driver like this, is going to help you immensely. I'm just going to turn these tuning machine heads so they're perpendicular to the headstock. That way I can get my machine in here a little easier. So like I said, I'm going to take off 1 set of strings at a time. That's the way I like to do it. Now, like any acoustic guitar, when we get down to the bridge, if you can, try and push the string down. There we go. Push it down a little bit so that releases the ball end from under the bridge plate under there. Now, again, use my cheap little tool. So cheap it was free. So I'm going to take these pins out. And I'm just going to put them aside over here. So that came out okay. And that one came out okay. Look at that. Okay, so we have success. Okay, so these are the phosphor bronze D'Addarios 10 to 47s. Okay, so these are the D'Addario phosphor bronze 10 to 47s, light gauge. That's exactly what was on there. Or at least the gauge is the same. And open that up. I still prefer when the strings have their individual envelopes. Maybe that's just me, but I like that better. Okay, I'm not going to open these over this guitar because black guitars with this kind of finish scare me a bit. Alright, let's get the right strings. So what's nice with these D'Addario strings, if you can see, this is the 6th string with the octave, and we have a brass ball end, so they're color coded. And if we come down to, let's see here, the 1st string, you can see that we're, silver colored, and we have green and purple and black and that. So that's nice. It helps you avoid making some mistakes, right? So I'm going to take these out. And it doesn't really matter what you start with, but I will start with the octave because it's here at the back. So I'm going to bend this down a little bit. And of course what we want is for the ball end to sit like that, basically. The end of the bridge pin, so the string's going to sit in that slot. There we go. I hope you can see that okay. That's what it looks like underneath. So by bending it, I start it properly. I can get it hold in there. So I just push it down. I'll get the string here, and let me get the regular string, if you will, 6th string. Bend that a little bit. Push it in, make sure I've got my slot on the bridge pin facing the right way. Catches the string, good. Okay, I'm going to move this over here. And we're going to go down the other end of the guitar. Like I mentioned earlier, a string winder is your friend with one of these things. So just like a regular guitar, right, 6th string, we're going to run that through. Now, I like to position the hole in the tuning post with the nut slot, the appropriate nut slot. So that's pretty good like that. So while I'm here though, using a 10mm wrench, I'm going to see if that needs tightening. Well, that's pretty good, pretty snug. Okay, so I'm going to go 1, 2 tuners down, pull it back through, around like that. Nothing fancy here. We want to get 2 or 3 wraps underneath the post hole, making sure the string is above it. We'll loosen that up a little bit. There we go. Good. I cut that back a bit so I don't poke myself in the eye. That looks nice. I don't mind taking a little flathead. I just get under there and tighten that up just a touch. Good. Okay. So that was the octave string. Now here's the normal regular string, the 6th string, and I push that through. Now this one, it's thicker, so I'm not going to need 2 tuners. I think I'll go 1.5 maybe, right? Put my finger there. We're going to pull that back. Whoop. put that in the slot so I get a good measurement. Somewhere around there. I can always, reverse it and do it again. Alright, same idea. Just gonna start it a little bit. A little tougher, a little thicker. So again, 2-3 wraps at the most on this string. As the strings get thinner, that's when you have more wraps, right? There we go. Again, we're gonna pull that up a bit, cut most of that off. You leave a tail so you can get at it if you had to get in there or remove it. Let's just push that up a bit. Tighten it. It's not to pitch or anything, I'm just taking the slack out. Okay, good. Alright, let's keep going. Okay, well, while I have the third string in the octave off, I'm going to take advantage of having a little more room to get in there with my truss rod wrench, 4mm. And again, finding this is a lot of fun. There we go. Okay, so I want to tighten it a little more, so I'm going to go like another 1/8 of a turn. And the truss rod moves really smoothly, so I think that's good. So I'm going to leave that alone, and I can always loosen it off a little bit. Alright, let's get back to the strings. Almost done. Well, I'm not going to lie, that was a bit of an ordeal. I got them all done though. So I was just going around tightening these up. They're a little bit loose, so there, yeah, that one. So it's a good idea to tighten them up when you're doing a string change, or at least check them. And the other thing to check, again, are the tuning machine keys here. Are they tight? So I can go, I don't want to get my hand there in the shop, but you hold your tuning key and then you just tighten up the screw. Again, do that. Well, I like to check every string change. Doesn't hurt. Only takes a few seconds. So I have to admit, I kind of like it when you're tuning these up. So I've got the E. Sorry, my fat fingers aren't doing well. That's in tune, so to tune this, the octave string. There we go. You get it close and then you just play ear. So I'll go along and do the rest of these, and then we're going to stretch these out. So the same we do on a 6 string, especially the wound ones. Get these suckers pulled a bunch of times. I'm going to have to do a lot of that on this guitar. It's also not a bad idea to use a pick. My wrist is starting to hurt from turning these tuning keys. Getting close. And I gotta go back and do them all. Anyways, we're gonna let this sit for a while and come back to it, and we'll check the string action and everything. Okay, well, we're tuned up the pitch, and I'm going to check again with the string action gauge. Yeah, it's just, you can just feel it touching the string, so definitely drop the action down at least a 64th, and probably suspecting almost 2. So that's good. That's just with the neck relief, right? We haven't done anything else to the guitar. And again, it's just here for a string change, and it's easy enough to adjust the neck relief. They do sound nice. Okay, well, I just have to clip the strings off. That might take me half an hour. Alright, I'm going to clip off these string ends before I cut myself. I always do that. So, 12 strings, they can be a little intimidating, of course. Just double the amount of strings. You don't have a lot of space to work in. So, don't worry about it. Take your time. And you should get a good result. Come around this way. Yeah, so is it Takamine Takamine, Takamine. You tell me what you think. Alright? Okay, we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. Snip. 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 And snip. Hey, all done.